Howdy! So I wanted to talk about Fall of Porcupine. Now this is a story-based game that has some little mini-game elements to it, but it's mostly narrative and text dialogue. And y'all know me, I like story-based games. That's why I play games most of the time is for the story. I play, easier, normal difficulty. I'm there to experience the world and the lore and all that stuff. So on paper, this is kind of like right up my alley in terms of the kind of game that I like. I don't mind if some games don't have a bunch of gameplay elements as long as the story's engaging and the characters are interesting and, the gameplay elements aren't too frustrating. And for this game, the gameplay elements are pretty simple overall. There is one puzzle towards the beginning of the game that can get a little bit confusing, and I've seen other people kind of struggle with it as well. But besides that, it's kind of simple and to the point as far as the gameplay element goes. It is a side scroller. You're doing a little bit of jumping once a blue moon, maybe a little bit something else in between, but it's nothing too crazy. And my favorite part about this game is the look. I really like the colors in the game. The colors really pop out with all the different characters and the scenery and all that. So I thought the game itself looked really nice. So as far as the game itself, again, it's a type of game that I usually like and enjoy. So you would think I would enjoy this experience, but surprise, I didn't really. Yeah, this game it's kind of boring. And I hate to say that, but I played about half of this game. The game runs about 8 hours or so in length. I played a little bit past 4. And I kind of lost interest and I didn't feel the need to finish it. The game started out interesting. You start out in this dream-like state and you're kind of, going through this little intro and then you get into the real world. And you play this pigeon that's a doctor, and you gotta go take care of the other characters that are there. It's all takes place in one little town. Every character is some sort of animal-based person. You have, beavers, dogs, cats, giraffes, a variety of animals, and that's all the characters. And every day you kind of go into this office and you're helping out patients, and by doing that you're playing mini games and whatnot. And it is a little bit hard of a sell to like certain people, maybe me too, of like playing a whole game in a hospital. Like you don't really want to go to the hospital in general in real life unless you have to. So to ask a player to spend a whole game in a hospital is a bit much. So that's kind of a tough feat in itself. But as I kept playing the game, I was waiting for it to pick up and the story to kind of get a little bit more interesting. And you meet, little side characters and stuff like that. And I like that the main character will sometimes think thoughts out loud. I was like, oh, that's kind of clever or something like that just to entertain themselves. But it just felt like it was dragging on. And as I got closer to where I decided to wrap up the game, I felt like this game should have been 4 hours, max. Thinking that this game stretches for another 4 hours, I was like, oh, that seems like an awful... Even though that, in game standards, is short, I felt like for what the game was, like 8 hours was too much, and that it should have been toned back a lot. Now, again, maybe the end of the game, it gets kind of crazy, and it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, but still the journey to get there, the characters I just didn't really care about, and again, it just felt like so mundane, and it was just slow. It was just very slow building, and every once in a while it would change up the gameplay a little bit, and I was that kind of kept me playing for a little bit longer. But, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. And I just wasn't feeling it on this one, to be honest with y'all. I played it, the PS4 version of it on the PS5. Now, I did see that some other people had problems as far as, like, the game either glitching or shutting down on them. For the most part, I didn't have any issues until I got towards the last little portion I played, where sometimes the mini game, like after I completed, the screen would kind of freeze, and I'm like, okay, what's happening here? And then I have to close the game and relaunch the game manually. And I did run into one point where I was just in the middle of doing something and the game just hard closed out on itself. It came up with that classic game error that like something went wrong, there was an error, and it just closed itself off. And I think that in addition to how I was feeling is what led to me feeling like, okay, I got out of this game what I need to get out of it, and I would feel like spending more time on it wouldn't help or do me any favors in the grand scheme of things. Again, the game looks great. I really like the colors and the pop out and all that, but if you're looking for like a story-based sort of game like this, again, check out like a Space for Unbound, something like that. I feel like there's a lot better options for these kind of games out there, and only get this if you really don't have anything else to play and you're just in the mood for something just a little bit different and unique. Otherwise, I would kind of skip this one.